this time of year, a lot of people are making or starting their New Year's resolutions, and quite often when it's not about like food and having a better diet, it's about getting a better hold on your personal finances. So because of that, I decided to talk to an economic expert at U of T and a financial advisor as well at Scotia Capital about what the Canadian economy forecast is looking like for this year, for the new year, and what that is going to mean for students and people leaving university as well.
It's difficult to exactly forecast what's going to happen to any economy. We do know that in the Western world, the Canadian economy is doing, say, much better than almost every European economy other than Germany. We've been traditionally doing better than the United States, although just recently in the last quarter, the American growth has picked up, and that could only bode well for Canada. So we're going to have growth next year. There's a question of how much. It's always harder. If you look at unemployment rate of youth unemployment rate, it's always much higher than general because it takes a while to find your appropriate match. People know nothing about you. They know your grades in school, but they really don't know your work ethic. They don't really know your job market skills, and so it takes time. So it always takes time, whether the labor market is good or bad, to find a good match. And so this will be somewhat more difficult than in times of rapid economic growth, but with a little patience, there'll be those jobs out there. Economy is doing reasonably well, and students should not have extraordinary hard problems. It'll take a while, but they should be able to find a job suitable to their skills. People talk about a bubble in the housing market in Canada. Well, it hasn't occurred yet. At least there's been no burst in that bubble. Prices have been going up and up and up, and although in the Toronto area, not as much as, say, out west, but housing prices have grown here, and so rental rates will also increase too. So you're not going to find cheap accommodations in the major urban centers in Canada. Always when we have a recession or we get out of one, and we're out of one now, but when you're out of one, you've hit bottom and you're rising, but you're still not back to where you were, and that's the stage we're in. We always have recessions. About every 10 years it occurs, and then we have a couple of years of bad times, and then we have good times. And so a couple of years down the road, things should be even better than they are, should be better than they are now, and so it should be easier for the students graduating in a couple of years.
People got to be really careful with credit cards. Students, I would say, particularly just starting out, obviously they're a very powerful lure, and you get instant gratification, but you really got to realize that you got to pay these things off, so that to the extent that you don't have to carry a balance, to the extent that you can pay it off each and every month without any sort of interest penalty, they're a great idea because you get the interest-free loan for the 6 weeks, you get the flexibility of not having to go to the bank machine all the time, and you can accumulate points. But you really got to be disciplined and only use them if you pay them down. Interest rates are likely to stay low for a prolonged period of time, given the situation that we're in. Having said that, though, credit card companies, really make up the bulk of their money on people that stay in debt, that have to pay these high interest rate charges. So if anybody is going to be carrying a balance on a credit card, if they get into that situation where they are carrying a balance, really what they should really try to do is borrow that money from the bank, either with a cosigner or somewhere else where they can obtain a lower source of funding, pay those credit card balances off. I think it's important for everybody, and I think we can just look all over the world right now and see the effects of too much credit. And I think one of the things is to really get into the discipline of knowing each and every day exactly what you're spending. And there's various apps you can do, or you can just do it in your head and say, okay, I spent $2.57 for my coffee and $3 for my TTC, and or if you're driving a car, that would be $3 for my gas. And know each and every day, and each and every week, and really each and every month, what that sum is, at what your burn rate is, what it is that you need to spend each and every month, and how it is. And once you know it, then you can try to find ways to maybe make it smaller. It's also important to know what cash flow sources are coming in, and are they balanced, and if not, what is the shortfall, and therefore what is the ultimate surplus or debt that you're going to have to come up with later to cover it. I think that we're in a generation right now where people can really appreciate the problems with debt, and I think it comes down to the individual just being empowered and just knowing. And if you're one of the advantages of using cash over credit cards is it's harder to pay. It's harder to shell out $120 to buy a sweater, I think, with cash than it is to put it on credit. So if you're just using cash, then perhaps maybe you'll be less inclined to spend. But on the other hand, if you use credit, then you can get, in a lot of cases, mileage points or freebies. So it just depends what kind of person you are. You got to know yourself and try to choose the best vehicles for what sort of character you have.